No role plays, no conference calls, no BS. Chris and Lorenzo share 4 decades of combined experience to help you become a more effective leader. This is Hacking Your Leadership.
Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And welcome to this week's Thoughtful Thursday. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube at Hacking Your Leadership and leave us a review on iTunes. On this Thoughtful Thursday, I want to talk about soft skills.
Okay. This is good. This is a good square for corporate lingo bingo. I like that.
Corporate lingo bingo, exactly. The first time I heard the phrase soft skills was probably somewhere 15 to 18 years ago. Every time I heard it used for about the first 10 or 12 years that I heard it, it was used in a derogatory fashion, almost like, if someone's telling you a story and they say, "Hey, this Karen walked up to me," then there's an inherent connotation that you know what
I
they're
no
about
longer
to
think
say.
of my friend's named Karen anymore.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I know people named Karen who like they're thinking about changing their name. Like that's how bad it's gotten.
Exactly.
Or if someone says, "Oh, you're such a boomer," and they say it in like a derogatory way, and just by the connotation, you think that there is this negative element to it. Every time I heard the word soft skills or the phrase soft skills, it was always by someone who was trying to discount the importance of what they consider those to be. And for the longest time, I think they weren't even defined clearly, like what they were. It was just kind of this maybe commitment to something that was looked at as not as important to the bottom line, as maybe a nice to have as opposed to a needs to have. And I think, for the longest time, maybe that was the case. For the longest time, if you didn't have sites like LinkedIn and Glassdoor where you can talk to employees about how good the leadership or the environment is in a lot of places, if having 3 jobs in 5 years on a resume would absolutely hurt your job prospects, in an environment like that, then maybe the things that we think of today when we think of soft skills aren't quite as necessary in order to maintain a high-performing team. I think that as we have moved into a time when the employees have significantly more power and control over their future than they did 20 years ago, a lot of these skills, a lot of the leaders that are good leaders and that maintain teams with high engagement and high performance are the ones that seem to index higher on these skills that we deemed soft for the longest time. What do you think about the words or the phrase soft skills?
Yeah, I'm with you on it. Like it assumes that there are then hard skills.
Right.
And I don't think that's the case. I think just like skills are skills. And to your point, like I think that the lack of communication, the lack of transparency, what used to be kind of like you work at a company, you're supposed to work there for decades, you only work at one job, and all these old ways and antiquated approaches to leadership that was very much based upon manufacturing and that type of thing. I think that's where they were able to establish these rule sets that were like, you leave everything at the door that you don't have to do at work, and you work hard, and you don't push back or question, and like all these old ways of leading that, to your point, like I think we know now looking back on it, not the best way to create inspiration, not the best way to create motivation in many cases, not the best way to create innovation. But in spite of that, a lot of that came out of that work, right? So
Right.
It definitely existed, but I think not nearly as much as we've seen as that has evolved over time. So I'm with you. Like I think it really was kind of a dig when they first started talking about soft skills, and now over the last couple of decades, it's starting to understand like these are the kind of the people skills. These are the skills that allow you to connect with people, to be more open, to be more empathetic. And there's a lot of value in that if you're looking to build loyalty and culture and stuff, especially in work environments where people do have choices and people do talk about their jobs, their companies, and their leaders, and they have ways to look and decide where do they want to invest their productivity into an organization. So yeah, I definitely think it's a good topic to talk about, and something that I think just over time people still talk about soft skills, but I think now it's like we've even gotten deeper into the actual skills themselves. We talk about like empathy and creating psychologically safe environments and connection and inspiration and motivation and empowerment. I think is where we're at today.
Yeah, I think the only way to look objectively at skills in terms of prioritizing them. Like what skills, if you're hiring somebody, if you're hiring a leader, what skills do you look for, right? The only way to speak objectively about that conversation is to say, well, what skills will lead to the outcomes you're looking for? Clearly define the outcome you're looking for here, whether it be high employee engagement or more revenue or more profit, more bottom line, whatever it is, you define it. And then, okay, what skills do you need out of your leaders in order to get that? And if the skills that you need out of your leaders are ones that have nothing to do with empathy or creating psychologically safe environments or raising the voices of people who would normally sit back and not say, like if those skills aren't needed to get that bottom line, then they are optional, right? Like they truly are. There's just less and less organizations and fewer and fewer teams over time that can get away with leaders who don't have them. 50 years ago, virtually all teams could get away with it. And, 25 years ago, and I'm just kind of rounding here, maybe half the teams get away with it. Nowadays, I don't know that there are many teams anywhere who could get away with where leaders could not have these skills and the employees will still perform well and bring their best selves to work and get the job done you're looking to get done. So what I want to ask you, Lorenzo, is I want to know about a time when you felt like your career or your career advancement was being hurt or hindered by over-indexing on soft skills, and you kind of had to navigate through that. So I want to ask you that, but first I'm going to get up to word from one of our sponsors. All right, Lorenzo, when was a time when you felt like maybe over-indexing on soft skills was hurting your career?
It's funny. I've always felt that the skills that I had in the people space were always extremely helpful. And there were times when I had gotten feedback about you have too much empathy, or you're not holding people accountable enough and things like that. But the one time that really stuck out to me was I went to like a leadership conference, and we all did our strength-based organizations. What are the actual terms called?
The Gallup, the Gallup ones.
The Gallup assessments or whatever. And we all did them before we went to this conference, and then they handed them out, like the results they were given at the conference. And based upon your result, you were put into these different groups. And it was like A, B, C, D, or whatever. And so everybody has their letters. They all go around, and we go get in our groups. And I get to my group, and I look around, and I'm just like, I think I'm in the wrong group. And they're like, well, what letter do you have? And I was like, oh, I have like B. And they're like, oh yeah, like this is B. We're all B. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, this is all of the HR team, right? And at the time, I'm a sales manager, right?
Right.
And I'm just like, this is I was like, am I sure? And they're like, well, what do you have? What are your attributes there? And I was like, oh, like includer, positivity, woo, belief, developer. And they were like, oh yeah, that's what we have, right? And then I remember looking over to the other groups, and I see all of my peers and all the other sales managers and general managers over there looking at me like what are you doing over there?
Did you feel left out?
I felt a little bit left out,
Yes.
but also it like hit me, and they were just like, wow, like they're like, this is the first time that we've had like a sales manager, like over here, like talking to us about like these people things. And then so like I was like, okay, like so we talked about it. It was not a big deal. But when I got back to the other team, they were like, what were you doing over there? Like what happened? And I was like, no, this is like the strengths. And they're like, oh, like you don't have like competitions not in your top 5. They couldn't believe that I didn't have these same things that they had, yet I was still driving the results and the success of a team and the culture at the same level and even exceeding in some. So like it was just a moment in time where I was like, am I in the right job? Like is this like, and is this something that I have to be conscious of? Because of that reason of people saying like soft skills, like those are, things that sales managers are supposed to have this and you've got that. And I felt like for a moment there, I don't know. But then I talked to one of my mentors and they were just like, no. They're like, no. There's a lot of ways that you can get that work done. You just so happen to do it through the lens of always taking care of your people. That's always been your priority. And you are competitive. I know that. You do like to win. You look at the numbers every single day to see what's going on with your team. But But the way that you go about doing it, like look at your team's loyalty, look at your team's development, look at how many people on your team have gone on to find success and to do other types of roles and jobs. And so he was very helpful in kind of bringing me back into the reality of being like, it's okay. But I just remember that was a moment in time where I was like, man, this might not be good. Like I might have to change careers.
Right. Like I imagine the rest of the sales managers over there looking at you like with kind of glaring side eye going,
Yeah.
we thought he was one of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Which of our secrets is he divulging to the HR team, you know?
Yeah. How dare he take care of his people?
Right. I'm glad you said that because I want to make sure we talk about this in the context of that. There were a lot of leaders both before that moment in time for you and since that moment in time who have not indexed very high on these skills, but who have still managed to drive successful results on teams in ways that their people would say, yeah, I like them. They're a good leader. They're, so it doesn't mean that a person who doesn't have this is a terrible person or a bad leader. I just think as time goes on, it makes the job of a leader significantly more difficult if they don't have them. But just separating it out as just their skills as a whole. Any type of skill is a skill. It's not, these are the skills that are harder to measure or harder to, we don't have, so we're going to make fun of them and say they're soft skills because the hard implies difficult and that implies that we're the ones capable of the job. Like the moment you separate it out as being lesser is the moment you start to like bring a connotation with it that I think just shouldn't be there.
And let me give you a hot take on this as well, because I think you bring up a great point. I think that even those leaders today that may fall more on the directiveness, accountability, clarity of expectation, like that style of leadership, I think that they do have these other skills, and they may not. They may utilize them in different ways or in lesser ways. I think, and if you remember back to our Developers Dark Side series, the big takeaway for me was that these are also the skills that when they are overused are the most dangerous.
Oh, of course they are.
So I think about that in the comparison of sometimes people that have them, but they don't overuse them can sometimes feel like they get a bad rap because there are other leaders who overuse them so much that they say, well, this leader will spend 3 hours just talking to me about the issue that I'm having. And that feels like I'm getting more support than the leader over here who will talk to me for 15 minutes and say, you know what, Chris, I know you share this with me. I do appreciate you sharing with this, but like, this is not my lane. If you need some help, I can provide you with a resource and some help. But for here and for the work that we do here, I will get you any resource you need. But what I'm going to ask of you today is that we get the job done that we have in front of us here. And that can seem very harsh if you have other leaders that are willing to spend the 3 hours talking to you because they're overusing some of those types of skills. So that's just something that I think is maybe we'll do another episode later about it, but it's something to be conscious of.
Yeah, there is no. It's not that it used to be this set and now it's that set. It's the looking at it in that context is almost like what human beings have a tendency to do, which is swing a pendulum far to the side before they find that happy medium. And the leaders who are most successful today are the ones that have found that balance. They don't over-index so much on empathy and the quote-unquote soft skills that they fail to hold their people accountable. Accountability is a soft skill if it's delivered in the correct way. People want to be held accountable because they want to know their teammates are being held accountable, because they want to know how to objectively move up in their career if that's what they're looking for. And there's no way to do that without the quote-unquote hard skills. It's the way they're delivered and the balance of doing that shows that, hey, you are more than just a number to me. And if you were to, I don't want you to leave. I want you to be successful with me as your leader. I don't want you to feel like you have to go away. And it makes me come to work. When I come to work every day, it's in spirit of helping you succeed, whatever that looks like, not helping you succeed, even if it means that the results go away. It's helping you succeed and helping the team succeed.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And have a great day.